One queen, one conqueror. One unexpected meeting that changed the fate of two of the most powerful civilizations in history. When people hear the names Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, they often picture a grand love story wrapped in the mystique of ancient power. But behind the romanticized legends lies a tale far more gripping, one of war, betrayal, ambition, and an encounter that would alter the course of empires. Cleopatra VII, the last true pharaoh of Egypt, wasn't merely a monarch draped in gold and silk. She was fluent in over 9 languages, a master of economics, politics, and naval warfare. Her intellect, charisma, and unshakable resolve made her one of the most formidable rulers of the ancient world. Julius Caesar, meanwhile, had carved a brutal path to near total control of the Roman Republic. Revered and feared in equal measure, he was a military genius with a vision of consolidating power under his rule. But even a man like Caesar couldn't have predicted how one young Egyptian queen would alter his legacy. The year was 48 BCE. Egypt was in turmoil. Cleopatra and her younger brother, Ptolemy III, were co-rulers in name only. A bitter power struggle had erupted between the two, and Cleopatra was forced into exile after her brother's court outmaneuvered her. While she sought refuge in the deserts east of Alexandria, Ptolemy tightened his grip on the throne, his advisors doing everything they could to erase Cleopatra from the political landscape. Then came Caesar. Having just defeated his rival Pompey in a civil war that threatened to tear Rome apart, Caesar arrived in Alexandria expecting a straightforward diplomatic mission. But what he found was far from simple. Pompey, hoping to curry favor with the new regime in Egypt, had sought asylum with Ptolemy. Instead, the boy king had Pompey executed and sent Caesar his severed head as a gift. Caesar was horrified. The murder of a Roman consul without Roman approval was not only a diplomatic disaster, but a direct insult. Rather than departing, Caesar decided to stay in Alexandria to restore order, which was Roman code for establishing influence over Egyptian affairs. This was Cleopatra's opportunity. She knew that Rome held the power to decide who would wear Egypt's crown. If she could win Caesar's favor, she could reclaim her throne, but she had a problem. She was still in exile and Ptolemy's palace was heavily guarded. Any attempt to walk through the front door would likely end in her arrest or worse, so she devised a plan that has echoed through history for over 2 millennia. Under the cover of night, Cleopatra boarded a small boat on the Nile. She traveled with her trusted servant, Apollodorus the Sicilian, who carried with him what appeared to be a large rug, or possibly a linen sack. Concealed inside was Cleopatra herself. It was a bold and dangerous maneuver, but one she believed would work. Presented the bundle as a gift. The Roman guards, unsuspecting, allowed him entry. Once inside, he unrolled the carpet at Caesar's feet, and from it emerged Cleopatra. The moment was theatrical, yes, but it was also calculated. Cleopatra needed a grand entrance, something that would immediately distinguish her from the scheming courtiers and spineless royals Caesar had encountered throughout his career. This act wasn't just a plea, it was a statement. And it worked. Julius Caesar, accustomed to displays of power and cunning, was captivated, not just by Cleopatra's appearance, but by her intellect, her boldness, her sheer nerve. She didn't beg for help. She laid out her case with the precision of a seasoned stateswoman. She argued that with Caesar's support, Egypt could return to stability, and in doing so, Caesar would gain a loyal ally in the eastern Mediterranean, a region vital to Rome's grain supply. Cleopatra was persuasive, but more importantly, she was necessary. Caesar understood that Ptolemy, surrounded by treacherous advisors and embroiled in civil war, could not ensure the order Rome required. Cleopatra, on the other hand, offered both political loyalty and personal alliance. That night marked the beginning of one of history's most controversial partnerships. But not everyone was pleased. When word reached Ptolemy XIII that Caesar had sided with Cleopatra, his fury knew no bounds. He mobilized his army, and within days, Alexandria became a war zone. A chaotic, bloody conflict that saw Roman legions battling Egyptian forces in the very heart of the city. Buildings burned, soldiers clashed in the streets, and the chaos threatened to consume everyone. According to some sources, the legendary Library of Alexandria may have partially burned during this time, a tragic symbol of how power struggles can consume not only cities, but knowledge itself. In the end, Caesar's military might prevailed. Ptolemy attempted to flee the city by boat, but drowned in the Nile under unclear circumstances. Some say in retreat, others say in disgrace. With her brother dead, Cleopatra was restored as Queen of Egypt. Caesar, ever the tactician, arranged for her to co-rule with another younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, to maintain the illusion of Egyptian dynastic tradition. But make no mistake, Cleopatra was the true ruler, and Caesar remained in Egypt longer than anyone expected. Months passed. The political partnership grew into something deeper, personal, intimate, and dangerously entwined. Cleopatra later gave birth to a son, Caesarion, whom she claimed was Caesar's child and the rightful heir to both Egypt and Rome. The affair was scandalous. For Cleopatra, it was a masterstroke. She had secured her throne, strengthened Egypt's independence, and forged a powerful bond with the most influential man in the known world. Their relationship would not last forever. Caesar returned to Rome only to be assassinated in 44 BCE. Cleopatra would later become involved with another Roman powerhouse, Mark Antony, but that too would end in blood and betrayal. Yet it all began with a single meeting, a queen hidden in a rug, a general with the fate of an empire in his hands. A moment so daring, so calculated, that it defied the politics of its time and rewrote the future of two civilizations. Cleopatra's meeting with Julius Caesar wasn't just a historical footnote, it was a defining event in ancient history. One that showcased not only the power of persuasion, but the incredible risks leaders were willing to take to shape their destinies. So now the question is yours. Was Cleopatra the ultimate seductress, or was she simply the smartest person in the room? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to check out our next episode where we dive into another explosive historical alliance, Antony and Cleopatra, the love that toppled an empire. Subscribe to Echoes of Time and step into the shadows of history.